Hula Hands. Book it right now. 4 locations, 192 in Kissimmee, University Boulevard near UCF, East Colonial and I Drive. More online at hulahands.com.
One question I get asked time and time again is, where do you find the mutual funds with the great returns that you always talk about? Well, first I work with my professional investment advisor.
It's the Budman here, and I hope you join me Monday morning starting at 6. The outrageous trial of Koran-burning Florida pastor Terry Jones. We'll talk about it. What happened in court, and what happened with his planned protest at the country's biggest mosque. At 6:33, our daily Wall Street Journal report. At 7, I say stop. Florida should not repeal the red light runner camera law. Don't talk to me about your right to privacy. I'm talking about your right to live. And at 8, Lou Fry talking politics and Open Mind Monday.
Helping the planet is a value kids and CSX share. Up to 5 times more fuel efficient than trucks, CSX trains in the most environmentally friendly way to move goods on land. Learn more at CSX.com. CSX, how tomorrow moves. There are some people out there who make things tough, like wrestle an angry dog into submission before it rips your face off, or clean a spray with treehouse for the kids. The following message is not for them. This is all about
BHL in the morning.
It's the Budman here, and I hope you join me Monday morning starting at 6. The outrageous trial of Koran-burning Florida pastor Terry Jones. We'll talk about it. What happened in court. At 6:33, our daily Wall Street Journal report. At 7, I say stop. Florida should not repeal the red light runner camera law. Don't talk to me about your right to privacy. I'm talking about your right to live. And at 8, Lou Fry talking politics and Open Mind Monday.
Bud Henninger, mornings on 540 WFLA.
And on this Good Friday and on this Easter weekend, I want to recommend to you that you get in touch with Lake Cardiology Home of Dr. Ken Cronhouse and ask about this Bud Scan heart scan breakthrough, the one that saved my life and thousands of other lives in Central Florida, because it can reveal things other heart tests might not, for things you have no symptoms of whatsoever. Heart disease can be a silent killer. And this Bud Scan technology is amazing. It's almost like Doc with his quick, easy scan. You have nothing to fear at all. Can take your heart right out of your chest, and he can look at it and get inside it and see exactly what's going on. Showed I had some problems in my coronary arteries we needed to deal with to head off an almost certain heart attack, and the deal was done, and I'm here celebrating Easter weekend because of the Bud Scan from Lake Cardiology, home of Dr. K. It's your heart, it's your life. Please call and just ask for you or someone you love where you might be concerned about their heart situation, just ask about this blood scan and if it might be something you need to investigate further. That's all. I'm living proof one call could save your life. Here's your number to Lake Cardiology, 352-735-1400, 352-735-1400. More on our website, keyword blood scan. Spotlight on Libya now for a couple of minutes, and in a moment, stay with me on this, I'm going to put the spotlight on this behind-the-scenes, behind-the-curtain culture clash. Culture clash is what I'm trying to say, between the Obama administration, the Obama White House, and the Pentagon right across the Potomac River. It's amazing what's going on. And it's not good, but it is totally understandable why there is such a breakdown in communication and such a culture clash. Stay with me on that because it's something I don't think you have heard before. But now the U.S. involved in Libya in a way it has not been. Things not going well for the rebels against the Gaddafi forces. They're complaining that NATO is weak, indecisive, and ineffectual. And with the U.S. having pulled back its warplanes as they have, I mean, what else would you expect? You know, I mean, the French were the ones who got this whole thing started. But there's no other country but the United States really capable of turning the tide in Libya and resulting ultimately in victory for the rebels and the defeat and ouster of Muammar Gaddafi, and that is so blatantly obvious. So the United States and President Obama is committed to no boots on the ground, okay, in Libya. You know, and given all we're involved in right now in Afghanistan and in Iraq, and our $14 trillion debt, and more on the debt ceiling, which is coming up a lot faster than anybody thought. Stay with us. That's coming in this hour. It's very important. With all of that stuff going, the last thing we need and can afford, frankly, is boots on the ground in Libya. Oh, there was a time when we could have taken care of this problem on our own in a week. That was WEEK. But now we are, under the Obama regime, WEAK week. But we are doing something new. It involves Predator drones in Libya. Stay with me on this. In 60 seconds, the rest of the story. Now at 6:22, here's your check on real-time traffic and weather together on the twos. And we're looking at sunshine at 89 today. Now, what about your Easter weekend? Well, Saturday it'll be sunny. Sunday, sunny. Just a chance of a passing shower both days. Highs in the upper 80s. About as good as it gets. Just a shade warmer than normal. Now 65 here on this Good Friday morning in Central Florida. These Predator drones have now been sent into action in Libya on behalf of the rebels, who are getting their brains beaten out by the Gaddafi forces in brutal fighting in the city of Misrata. They've sent in these Predator drones, which, of course, are unmanned. We've been using them a lot in Afghanistan and in Pakistan, and they are phenomenal technology. We also know that occasionally these Predator drones that fire out the missiles kill the wrong people. It's very, very hard to do precision warfare from the air with unmanned craft. But at least you know we're not going to lose any Americans. We've put a bunch of these drones into action. They were turned back yesterday in Libya because of bad weather, and they have to be able to see, you know, with their optical devices, their cameras or whatever, what's going on down there to have their best shot at taking out the right people. and not killing the wrong people, which always causes us all kinds of problems when that happens. So now they've sent in the drones here, and what they're trying to do is give the rebels a leg up in Misrata against the vicious attacks, as Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, classifies them, by the Gaddafi forces using cluster bombs against civilians in Misrata. I mean, this guy is as ruthless as any leader on the face of the earth, Muammar Gaddafi. And I frankly think at this point in time that the U.S. and the rest of the gang in NATO had no idea how tough it would be to take this guy out. So at any rate, we have put the Predator drones in there. The French are sending in some advisors, etc., and nobody wants to put any boots on the ground. How about the rest of NATO putting boots on the ground over there? You know, we've done our thing. We've saved the world one doggone time after another. You know, but nobody's going to do it. But this is an interesting story that is now beginning to leak out into the media about the culture clash between the Obama White House and the Pentagon in Washington that is tying up our policy in Libya completely. Miscommunications and misunderstandings reported. The groups are frustrated and angry with each other, the White House and the Pentagon. Policy paralysis is what they're saying. One high U.S. official who asked to be anonymous and has remained so in the media says the Obama administration's tentative halfway intervention in Libya is the cause of this, that it is a mess, that Washington took the bold step of committing military force under the president's command, but not enough to win. The administration waited to apply very limited military force till it became almost too late. Now the officials say it's painted the U.S. into a corner. And in the resulting stalemate, Libyan rebels and civilians are being ruthlessly pursued and killed while the U.S., in effect, stands helplessly by. The White House, it is reported, wanted the Pentagon to come up with a low-cost regime change plan for Libya. You know, get rid of Gaddafi quick and on the cheap, please, President Obama wanted, because he wanted to get on to other things. He doesn't like the United States military. He doesn't like the projection of American force. He doesn't respect the United States military. And he doesn't want to use it. But the military kept on saying, you know what, there is no such option. No low-cost regime change plan, Mr. President, because it all would require boots on the ground. And the stories are just incredible about the Pentagon looking across the river at the Obama White House and saying, this is the commander-in-chief? These people have no clue. They don't understand the military, what we can and cannot do. And they are asking things that simply cannot be done. Policy paralysis, the result. The clash of cultures. This is why we, now I'm not saying we need a maniac and a hawk who wants to pull the trigger every time you turn around as commander-in-chief. But we can never again, if we expect to remain anything like the superpower we once were, we can never again in this world, given the realities we face, have a basically pacifist, anti-military guy as the commander-in-chief of the American Armed Forces. We can't. But we do. And policy paralysis from the Pentagon to the White House is the sad result. Much more ahead, including some shocking new news on how quickly we're going to bang into the debt ceiling and what that means. Right after the news with Michelle Murillo and your daily Wall Street Journal report. Don't miss that.
Debt stinks. No one wants to have it, and no one wants to battle it. Having too much debt is an embarrassing situation that can dramatically impact the quality of your life, including your ability to get a loan or a job. Hi, I'm John Commuta, creator of the Transforming Debt into Wealth system. I've met too many good people who have too much bad debt. I've shown over 2 million people how to eliminate their credit card debts, car payments, student loans, even their mortgage. My debt-free
why everyone needs it. To prove it, let me rush you a free copy of the Debt-Free Bible. There's a limited number of free copies still available. Call 1-800-900-8110. That's 1-800-900-8110. 1-800-900-8110.
Traffic reports on air online brought to you by AskTheSeal.com.
Many companies who claim to background check employees do not. AskTheSeal.com performs criminal and sex offender checks on the actual employees interacting with your family or property. Find a company with the seal of approval on AskTheSeal.com. It's free.
Joe, technician from Safe Light Auto Glass.
My last customer was a busy mom with lots to do until she noticed a big crack in her windshield. She didn't want to drive with her baby in that car, so she scheduled online at safelight.com. No one makes replacing a windshield easier. Plus, she loved how SafeLight emails a photo of the technician, so she knew who was coming to her house and how soon.
Call 1-800-800-2727 or go to safelight.com.
SafeLight Repair, SafeLight Replace.
Bud Henninger Live continues with news from the Fox Orlando News Center on 540 WFLA.
From the David Moss Volkswagen Lee Road Traffic Center, we're in good shape so far this morning in both directions of I-4. No reported delays between attractions and land areas. Moving up to speed along the 408, it's the standard 6 to 8 minutes between I-4 and the Greenway. Pretty good shape along the Turnpike between Leesburg and St. Cloud. Just one problem spot north of the Leesburg area. There is a wreck southbound at US 301, taking up the right lane and blocking the ramp to 301. So far so good in both directions of 528, and the Greenway also checks and clear. From the Traffic Center, I'm Courtney Bright.
Traffic on air online brought to you by Subway. From April 18th to the 29th, celebrate Subway's Breakfast BOGO event. Buy any regular 6-inch sandwich and get one free between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. No coupon required. Just a great deal from your neighborhood Subway restaurant. Subway. Eat fresh.
There's nothing easier,
Rush Limbaugh,
than promising programs to be paid for by people who aren't even born yet, who thus don't even have a chance to object to it. That's gutless. You can institute programs that exacerbate problems, and yet you're going to be heralded as one of great compassion and one who cares and has great courage, when in fact you're making the problem worse.
Rush Limbaugh, noon to 3 on 540 WFLA. And worldwide at 540WFLA.com. Get warmed up for BHL with the 540 pregame.
Bounce around!
Log on to 540WFLA.com every morning at 5:30 for a live video chat with Jenna from Bud Henniger Live. You can ask questions, find out what's coming up on the show, or just make fun of Jeff, the phone screener.
People find you odd and alienating. You make them uneasy.
It's the 540 pregame every morning at 540WFLA.com. Keyword pregame.
Glenn Beck!
The Constitution and our system of government, or ourselves. One of them has to change. Americans have to wake up to the fact that we are at the tipping point. And if you believe what our founders said, they all said one thing: an immoral or ignorant people will not last with this Constitution.
Glenn Beck. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on 540 WFLA and 540WFLA.com.
From 540 WFLA, Orlando's 24-hour weather channel. High pressure holds on and the high heat will stick around through Easter weekend. Sunshine, the temperature near 90 today, 91 tomorrow, upper 80 Sunday. Weather updated around the clock on 540 WFLA. I'm David Maddox at the Weather Channel.
A distinguished person.
It's the Bud Man.
A well-known authority.
Call now, 407-916-5400. Toll free, 866-916-5400.
Glad you're with us. Good Friday morning to you. Our Wall Street Journal report now as we check in with the editor of the Wall Street Journal Radio Network, Mike Salvatorelli. Mike, good morning to you. Hey, you know, in tough times, you would think that states would try to help struggling companies, especially those who are committed to staying put and not bolting for somewhere else in the country or somewhere else around the world. But not necessarily so, as the Journal reports.
That's right. More states and cities are attaching strings to economic development deals designed to move business. At a time, you know, when they're finding it tough because their tax coffers have been pretty lean. Local governments want to see results by way of job creation and investment from companies receiving tax breaks, cheap rents, and farm deals. Now, in some cases, municipalities are demanding cash refunds from programs who failed to deliver. There's one case in Ohio that they're asking, the state is asking for more than $15,000 back because not as many jobs were created.
Ouch. And also in the Wall Street Journal report this morning, a potential First Amendment showdown that's focused on what we can and cannot say on the radio and the price we may pay for saying the wrong things.
That's right. The Obama administration is asking the Supreme Court to reinstate the Federal Communications Commission's ability to fine broadcasters for airing indecent words or images. Justice Department wants the High Court to review lower court decisions that have challenged the FCC's ability to police the airwaves. Now, accepted for review, the case could be a significant test of the government's ability to regulate what's said on radio and TV. Last July, a three-judge panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New York said the FCC's indecency policies were unconstitutionally vague and violated First Amendment. That case involved the FCC sanction of Fox TV for airing expletives uttered by celebrities during several live award shows. Fox TV is a division of News Corp, which also owns, by the way, the Wall Street Journal.
Okay, good enough on that. And finally, in the Wall Street Journal report, this is interesting. You know, I refer to it as the pop culture cesspool. There's just so much awful stuff on the airwaves, particularly on television. But there is an exception that the Journal is showcasing in their latest edition. The Happy Time Network, the USA Network, where all shows have to be colorful, sunny, and upbeat. I'm loving this. Let's talk about it. Oh, yeah. I never watch them. What, just to brighten it up? I'm loving that. That is amazing. You know, it's interesting. I mean, Hollywood doesn't seem to get it. All the family-friendly films, you know, the Toy Stories and all of this, I mean, that everybody can go and see, and you don't get the nasty surprise with the foul language and whatever else. They are tremendously successful. And now it looks like on television they found out that people are hungry for entertainment the whole family can watch. Happy Easter weekend to you, Mike. The Wall Street Journal report every morning here on BHL with our buddy Mike Salvatorelli. WSJ.com is the online edition, and of course you can pick up the best newspaper in America at any newsstand, and I recommend it, the Wall Street Journal. Jenna, I don't watch the USA Network. You started clapping when Mike mentioned a particular show. Help me out here. I need to maybe go back to the USA Network. It was always so dull before. I never watched anything there. What do you like?
Burn Notice, Psych, White Collar, all awesome shows, but they're not family friendly.
They're not.
I wouldn't watch them with kids. No.
Really?
They're scary.
Whoa.
For little kids, they're a little too scary.
Okay, that's interesting. But the messages are, I mean, according to what the Journal is saying, if I understand it right, maybe I missed something here, that generally speaking, the programming on USA is kind of upbeat messages, bright, sunny, not so?
I think that their humor is they have a very comedic undertone to all of their dramas. The way that they're shot is very bright, colorful, very warm. It's not like NCIS. You're talking more like upbeat the way they're shot, not necessarily storyline.
I see. But very quickly, what's Burn Notice about? That intrigues me.
Burn Notice is about a former spy who gets burned. He basically gets blacklisted, is stuck in Miami, and he has to figure out why he's being blacklisted from the government.
So good stuff on the USA.
Yeah, I would recommend Psych if you're going to watch anything, then White Collar, then Burn Notice.
Give me a thumbnail on Psych.
Psych is about a guy who pretends to be psychic in order to be a detective for the police department. Very funny, very, very funny. Lots of famous people in it. And then White Collar is about a criminal who did white-collar crime, and now he helps the FBI.
Interesting. I'm gonna check it out. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. You know the debt ceiling that we're talking about? I mean, 14-point-something trillion dollars, and all of a sudden we're going to not have the ability to borrow any more money, and we're being told by the Obama administration and by Tim Geithner and by everybody else that, my goodness, we have to raise the debt ceiling. We have to raise the debt ceiling, or it will be the end of life as we know it, and it will destroy the U.S. economy and the world economy, et cetera, et cetera. If all of this is so urgent, and now it's become even more urgent, and I'll tell you why here in a second, what in the world is Congress doing on a 2-week recess? What in the world is the President of the United States doing running around the western United States raising money for his reelection campaign? I'm completely baffled by how cavalier all of our elected officials seem to be about this. And now comes word that we are borrowing at such an alarming and accelerating rate that the debt ceiling is going to be reached faster than anybody expected. We've been told May 16th. It may be within the next week that we bang into the ceiling of $14.294 trillion in debt. Geithner says, the tax cheat and Treasury Secretary, that he can pull some strings and finagle things and stretch things out maybe until early July, but that July 8th is the drop-dead date. You know, we're all being told what a disaster this is, what a catastrophe we face, and yet no one in official Washington is in the nation's capital doing one blessed thing about it that I'm aware of. Nice. Terry Jones, the wacko pastor from Gainesville up in Dearborn, Michigan, wants to protest today outside the biggest mosque in America. Suddenly he's been put on trial. And guess what? The gun he packs, and he has a concealed weapons permit, it went off in Dearborn yesterday. Stay tuned. 642. Real-time traffic and weather together on the 2s.
From the David Moss Volkswagen Lee Road Traffic Center, I-4 remains up to speed so far this morning. No accidents or delays to slow your travels. We're moving well through the downtown area. Still problem-free in both directions of the 408 and 528 checks in clear between I-4 and I-95. Just one problem spot along the Turnpike, although this is closer to the Wildwood area. Southbound vehicle fire has the exit ramp to US 301 blocked. Otherwise, we are in good shape along the Turnpike between the Leesburg and St. Cloud areas. From the Traffic Center, I'm Courtney Bright.
From 540 WFLA, Orlando's 24-hour weather channel, high heat will stick around through Easter weekend. Sunshine, the temperature near 90 today, 91 tomorrow, upper 80 Sunday. Weather updated around the clock on 540 WFLA. I'm David Maddox at the Weather Channel.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Morello. Coming up in your 7 o'clock news, an investigation continues into what caused a man to die after being tased at Universal. More steps being taken to rewrite some of Florida's election laws, and a blow for the defense in the Casey Anthony trial.
Hey, you want to save some serious money on your homeowner's insurance premiums? I mean, State Farm just got a 19% rate hike. In many areas, it's even higher than that. Well, save some money. Check out Florida Insurance Specialists and their amazing new technology that all works through their website, challengemyrate.com. You go to challengemyrate.com. Prepare to be amazed. Like a Lake Mary Bud Hedinger Live listener, a customer with State Farm was paying $2,300 a year for homeowners premiums, got switched in minutes to prepared insurance at about $1,100 a year. Same coverage, save more than $1,200. What can you save? This is fun, and this is your hard-earned money. See what you can save right now. Go to challengemyrate.com. Challengemyrate.com. Call Florida Insurance Specialists at 407-805-0200.
Traffic on Air Online, a service of StarTron Enzyme Fuel Treatment. Ethanol fuel is horrible. It makes lawn equipment hard to start and run rough. But it's not the engine, it's the fuel. StarTron Enzyme Fuel Treatment cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems in all engines. Go to StarTron.com or find StarTron on Facebook for a dealer near you. How much could you be saving on car insurance? $300, $400, $500? There's a real easy way to find out. Just go to Geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO.
Hey, boss, have you seen that TV commercial with the National Alarm Company? You know, the one where the home gets broken into with the mom and daughter at home?
Oh, yeah, that guy's a creep.
Yeah. Hey, but did you notice that instead of calling the police, the alarm company calls the lady instead?
Oh, yeah. Her and her daughter could have been killed while she was talking to the operator.
Yeah, I know. Now, if they had Safe Touch, the two-way communicator would have let the operator hear what was going on, and they'd have called the police right away.
You know, I was in a fine mood until you mentioned Safe Touch.
Yeah, well, you're not going to like this, boss. The latest edition of the Crooks R Us newsletter said the average response time for Safe Touch monitoring is 14 seconds.
14? Oh, I hate Safe Touch!
That's right, our Safe Touch two-way communicator saves lives and prevents property loss every day. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, owner of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one, and I mean no one, protects your family better than Safe Touch. So call Safe Touch today. Systems and monitoring are still less than $1 a day.
Call 407-331-0335 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
I'm Mark Nation, and I'm a trial lawyer. I provide a service I hope you never need. But if you've been injured in a car accident, I'm here to help. The Nation Law Firm, 1-800-NATION-LAW, main office, Longwood.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. Call General Steel now, because you won't find better quality in a pre-engineered steel building. And we're offering rebates up to $20,000 to help you build today. A pre-engineered steel building from General Steel can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And the rebate of up to $20,000 is money that can go right to your bottom line. General Steel, your best option to build, and we will not be undersold. You could spend thousands more than you should on a new building, but you won't beat the quality of General Steel. So if you're thinking about building, call General Steel right now for free information that could save you thousands. Call 866-96-STEEL. That's 866-96-STEEL. Learn how to save even more with rebates up to $20,000. Call 866-96-STEEL. That's 866-967-8335.
Hey, Fountain Acura has me behind the wheel of their fabulous top-of-the-line Acura RL sedan, and I am loving this jet black beauty. I'll tell you what, power, performance, command of the road, every luxury option you can imagine, and head-turning styling I just love. And right now at Fountain Acura, the RL and their top-of-the-line SUV, the MDX, incredible financing rates as low as 0.9% on the brand-new ones for well-qualified buyers like you. If you're already driving an Acura, you know how amazing these vehicles are. How would you like to upgrade your current Acura to a similar 2011 brand-new Acura model at Fountain with no money down and a similar monthly payment? They can make it happen for you. Go see and go tell them the Budman says, hey, at Fountain Acura. These are great people, a great dealership, and what a lineup of cars. Fountain Acura South OBT. They are just south of the Florida Mall, worth the drive from anywhere. Online, fountainacura.com.
Your order of scrambled eggs, toast, and bud is ready. Back to the 50,000-watt front porch on 540 WFLA.
Well, we got a new wrinkle in the Terry Jones story. The Koran-burning pastor out of that little church in Gainesville who's rocked the Islamic world. He burned a Koran and 300 people were killed when they went nuts and rioted over in Afghanistan. That's not his fault. I don't support burning any books, holy books, least of all. But the scourge of radical Islam is everything he says it is and probably more. That said, Terry Jones, who I think maybe ought to be tending what remains of his little flock on Good Friday, don't you think? And maybe preaching from the good book about the Prince of Peace? No. He is up in Dearborn, Michigan, with an enormous Muslim population where he plans to exercise his fundamental First Amendment rights of free expression and protest outside the Islamic Center of America, the largest mosque in this country. So he's up there. He's on a TV show with a Muslim called Let Her Rip at a local Fox outlet or something. And so they have the interview. And afterwards, Terry Jones is walking back to his car. Apparently this is last evening. Now, he has a concealed weapon. He has a permit to carry it. And he says, I'm going to have the gun on me up there. Don't intend to use it. I'm coming in peace. I just want to point out the scourge of radical Islam and the rise of Sharia law and the problems it poses for this country and the world. He's completely within his constitutional rights to do this. More on that in just a moment. For reasons unknown, he gets out into the parking lot and suddenly the gun goes off. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? The gun went off, but it fired into the floorboard of his own car. Nobody was hurt. Apparently, it was just an accident. You think you might have the safety on, Pastor Jones? Do you think you might just have the gun locked down when you're in Dearborn? Give me a break. Well, at any rate, that's the latest bizarre happening surrounding Terry Jones. Got everybody's attention for sure, but this is the real heart of this story. And this is what we need to talk about. Terry Jones planned to protest outside that mosque at 5 o'clock this afternoon. He was told by local authorities he had to post a $100,000 bond for police security because of the threat of violence. He doesn't pose the threat of violence. It's radical Islam. They are buffaloed by fear up there. And guess what? He said he wouldn't pay the bond. He shouldn't have to pay the bond. To exercise his fundamental First Amendment free speech rights, you should not have to pay anyone any money. You can't just anticipate something violent's going to happen and penalize somebody and make them pay to protest in this country. It's completely fundamentally un-American. It's an outrage. He says, I'm not doing it. So now a judge said, okay, we're going to put you on trial. We're going to put you on trial today. And we're going to render a verdict in a jury trial today on whether or not, sir, you have to post that bond. Do you see what's happening here? 407-916-5400. Toll free 1-866-916-5400. If you don't, I do. Stay with me. We're back on it in 60 seconds. It's 6:52 now. Real-time traffic and weather together on the twos.
From the David Moss Volkswagen Lee Road Traffic Center, I-4 remains up to speed so far this morning. No accidents or delays to slow your travels. We're moving well through the downtown area. Still problem-free in both directions of the 408 and 528 checks in clear between I-4 and I-95. Just one problem spot along the Turnpike, although this is closer to the Wildwood area. Southbound, a vehicle fire has the exit ramp to US 301 blocked. Otherwise, we are in good shape along the Turnpike between the Leesburg and St. Cloud areas. From the Traffic Center, I'm Courtney Bright.
And we're looking at sunny and 89 today. On the weekend, pretty much the same weather with just a chance of a passing shower. So Easter weekend looks fine. 65 degrees now in Orlando. So Terry Jones is, you talk about a speedy trial. Casey Anthony still hasn't gone on trial nearly 3 years after the crime. You talk about the right to a speedy trial. All of a sudden, this system can move when somebody wants it to move. And they're so frightened of Terry Jones, they want to tie him up in court and prohibit him from exercising his First Amendment rights of protest and free expression. That's what's going on here. And he says that's exactly what you're trying to do. They're tying him up in court today with a jury trial on whether or not he has to pay this bond, which he does not have to pay, if the Constitution means anything. 407-916-5400. He says the trial is a way to deprive him of his rights, and he's absolutely right. I don't like this guy. I don't like the way he operates. I don't like burning books. I don't like burning holy books. Okay? But this is First Amendment stuff, gang, and you got to come on down on the side of Terry Jones and against the authorities up in Dearborn, Michigan. The problem is not Terry Jones. The problem is radical Islam and the fear that it engenders. 407-916-5400. Do you see how outrageous this is? What a sham this is. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a jury trial for something like this to tie the guy up all day long and have his scheduled protest come and go with him tied up in a courtroom? 407-916-5400. It's incredible. And it is so fundamentally un-American and wrong. And it really, doesn't it speak to what radical Islam is all about? You got people up at the mosque who are screaming that they are peace-loving people. Go home, Mr. Jones. You know, this is not fair. That most Muslims are not a threat in any way. But the fact of the matter is there is a percentage of Muslims who are radicalized in this country and worldwide, who are the scourge of this planet, and who will kill a non-Muslim as soon as look at him, and cite passages in the Quran that justify the killing of infidels. And they're the ones who have them so frightened in Dearborn that they have to find a way to keep this pathetic pastor from Gainesville tied up in court all day. 407-916-5400. It's incredible. Here is Lorraine in Orlando on this situation with Terry Jones. Good morning, Lorraine. Do you understand what I'm talking about here?
Absolutely. I don't understand what his crime is that he's going to trial for.
You have to pay the bond because we think there might be violence, and so we have to hire law enforcement, pay overtime, etc., extra security. It's to intimidate him, and it is to abridge his First Amendment rights.
Isn't that after the fact, not before the fact?
Absolutely, it should be.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with you.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. 407-916-5400. Ryan, you're in Claremont on this. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, I'm calling for two reasons. First, I do dispute one thing that you say, and that is that the blood of the people who died in Afghanistan as a result of his Quran burning is most definitely on his head. Those people would be alive and walking today if that pinhead didn't burn that Quran.
Now, let me ask you this, though. I don't support him having done that. But if somebody burns a Bible in Afghanistan, do 300 people die in America?
But that's irrelevant. Because
it is not irrelevant. It speaks to the cancer on the religion of Islam.
It does, but what the point that I think you're missing is that you're right. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen that way. But we do know on the opposite side that it does work that way. So, is it fair? Is it right? No. But before he burned that Quran, he knew he knew very well that this could well happen, and he still did it. Is it right that it happens? No. But we know it's a reality that we have to live with, and he took that chance, and as a result, those people are dead.
Thank you much. Appreciate it. And I understand where you're coming from, but I hope you understand the point that I'm making. In Melbourne, Dave on the line with the Budman. Good morning. It's 6:57. How are you, Dave?
Hey, very good, Bud. Hey, what's the big uproar? I've always been told that Islam is a very peaceful religion. So
well, that's what they're screaming from the largest mosque in America as Terry Jones comes to town. They're all saying, we are decent, peaceful, hard-working people. Shame on you.
So why do we need security?
Excellent question. An excellent question. An excellent question. Do you understand what they're doing here, though? I mean, the court system is there, more than anything, to protect our constitutionally guaranteed freedoms, right?
Correct.
Absolutely is. And the court system is being used in Dearborn now. This is such a perversion to destroy one man's constitutional freedoms.
Thank you, bud.
What a story. 407-916-5400 here on BHL. We're going to watch the situation here. Do you believe that? How long does it take to get somebody on trial around here? Casey Anthony, 3 years. But other people, months at least. They whipped up a full jury trial in a day. That was their latest cockamamie scheme because they're so terrified of radical Islamic elements in Dearborn that they got to keep Terry Jones tied up in court. A jury trial over whether or not he has to pay the bond? A jury trial? We'll watch this bizarre situation unfold, and we'll talk about what happened with you on Monday morning. I hope you'll be with us. Hey, there's some great news out about rising hotel occupancy rates here. That's huge, huge positive news for our all too dependent on tourism economy in Central Florida. But how does that jive with skyrocketing oil and gas prices? And what kind of trouble could we quickly be in again? The most prominent hotel owner in all of Central Florida on that live with the Bud Man next. Harris Rosen on the 50,000-watt front porch right after the news update at 7 o'clock with Michelle Murillo.
WFLF Pine Hills, Orlando. WTKS FM HD2 Cocoa Beach. Your home for Rush Limbaugh.
540 WFLA.
540 WFLA. Local news from the Fox Orlando News Center.
From the David Moss Volkswagen Lee Road Traffic Center, I-4 remains up to speed so far this morning. No accidents or delays to slow your travels. We're moving well through the downtown area. Still problem-free in both directions of the 408 and 528 checks in clear between I-4 and I-95. Just one problem spot along the Turnpike, although this is closer to the Wildwood area. Southbound vehicle fire has the exit ramp to US 301 blocked. Otherwise, we are in good shape along the Turnpike between the Leesburg and St. Cloud areas. From the Traffic Center, I'm Courtney Bright.
Traffic on air online at service of Serrano Beach Resort and Conference Center. Hey, Orlando residents, enjoy a slice of paradise about 2 hours away and with zero hassles. Serrano Beach Resort on St. Pete Beach has sugary beaches, Hollywood perfect sunsets, and more. Visit Serrano.com for details. Serrano, Imagine it's all here.
Half off Bella Vita Medispa and Salon. ODealsDaily.com.
From 540 WFLA, Orlando's 24-hour weather channel, high pressure holds on and the high heat will stick around through Easter weekend. Sunshine, the temperature near 90 today, 91 tomorrow, upper 80 Sunday. Weather updated around the clock on 540 WFLA. I'm David Maddox at the Weather Channel.
Score with 540 WFLA Sports.
It will be a homecoming for Magic center Dwight Howard tonight. Howard returns to Atlanta as the Magic take on the Hawks in Game 3 of their opening round playoff series. Howard played at Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy before he was drafted by the Magic. As for this series, which is tied 1-1, Howard expects a grinded-out series the rest of the way.
This is going to be a tough physical series, for us and for the Hawks. We can't back down. We have to pick up our intensity. They're going home, so, they're going to be amped up to play there.
Tonight's game will tip off at 8 o'clock. Last night of the playoffs, Dwayne Wade scored 32 points and came 2 assists shy of a triple-double as the Miami Heat beat Philadelphia 100-94 for a commanding 3-0 lead in the series. Chicago's up 3-0 against Indiana after beating the Pacers 88-84, and Portland won a game in the Dallas series, beating the Mavericks 97-92. Dallas still leads 2-1. On the diamond, former Dr. Phillips star A.J. Pierzynski drove in a pair of runs as the White Sox beat the Rays 9-2, avoiding a 4-game sweep against Tampa Bay. Scott Cousins' first career homer was a grand slam for Florida in a 9-5 Marlins win over the Pirates. That's your sports update. I'm Tom Morgan, 540 WFLA.
BHL. Wake up and stand up for what's right. 540 WFLA presents the 50,000-watt front porch. And another hour of Bud Henniger Live.
Tourism drives our economy in Central Florida. Wish we were more balanced than we are. We're very tourist dependent, no question about it. It is great news on one hand to learn that for the first time in about 3 years, we have gone over an 80% occupancy rate when you put together all of the hotels and motels in the Central Florida area. That's just terrific. Tourist tax revenue goes up. The whole economy starts humming when things are going well in the tourism sector. But the looming specter of the impact of spiking oil and gasoline prices and jet fuel prices jacking up the price of airline travel, how much of a cloud does that have hanging over this improving scene in the tourist sector? Let's bring on a man who deals with this every day and probably knows more about it all than anyone I could possibly bring to the radio here this morning. Are the most prominent hotel owner by far in Central Florida, our old friend Harris Rosen. Harris, thanks for getting up early with us today.
Happy to do it. As a matter of fact, I wake up at 6 every morning, so this is just perfect.
Okay, fair enough. So things are better now than they have been. You can confirm this in the hotel industry?
You and I had a conversation yesterday, and I really had grave doubts about that 80% occupancy. I think I suggested to you that it was probably closer to 72 or 73%. But, I did some research, spent some time with Gary Sane, who's head of our bureau, spent some time with Dean Apazam at the Rosen College, and checked Smith Travel data, and I got to tell you, we as a community did an 80% occupancy, which is really quite extraordinary.
Now, of course, a lot of those rooms might have been booked before the gas and oil prices started going through the roof. How much of a danger does this pose? How concerned are you if gas prices stay this high or get higher? What happens to all of this with the tourism in Central Florida?
Of course, but that's the question that everyone is asking right now. But I purchased my first property in 1974 at the very height of the embargo. And the difference between...
This is the Arab oil embargo, when we just lost access to the Middle Eastern oil, and it was catastrophic. We had the long gas lines, etc. What gas we could get was costly. And tell me what happened to hotel occupancy rates here in Orlando in the middle of the Arab oil embargo. Tell me, because this is stunning.
I think your word catastrophic aptly describes what it was like. I mean, that's when I bought my first hotel, which I acquired for about $20,000, and the owner was so delighted that I volunteered to purchase the property that he hugged me and cracked one of my ribs. He was so
So you're in the game, and all of a sudden, the Arab oil embargo, what happens?
No. I knew what I was heading for. I mean, the embargo was there, and that's why virtually every hotel was in serious financial difficulty. There's a difference, though, Bud.
But you didn't, Harris, I got to have the number here. You told me, and please confirm that I'm right on this, that hotel occupancy plummeted to 15% in Orlando.
I even doubt if it was 15% because there were so many foreclosures, so many hotels were closed, that inventory really shrank dramatically. I think back then we had about 25,000 rooms. Maybe 5,000 of them had shut their doors. So if occupancy was 15 or 20%, it was very, very, very high.
And it happened almost overnight, didn't it?
It did. It was really catastrophic. But listen, there's a difference. As it turns out, gasoline represents a very, very small percentage of what someone is spending when they bring their family here to Orlando. It might be 2 or 3 or 4%. You know, they've got hotel rooms, they've got attraction tickets, they've got food. They've got entertainment, and so when you look at the gas the component, it really is a very small percentage.
But it's psychological. I think you're absolutely right. It's not rational, but people have this knee-jerk panic reaction when the gas goes up, and they decide not to take the vacation.
Listen, I think you're right, and I think only time will tell. My hope is that we will not see gas selling at $5 a gallon. If that happens, I think we're really at a point where something might happen, something negative might happen. But I think up until then, I think people will rationalize the fact that they're spending another $20, $30, $40 on gasoline compared to the 1 or 2 or 3,000 they're spending on their trip. Let's just take a deep breath and not get crazy about it. If it hits 5, from a psychological perspective, I think it might have a negative impact on what's happening here.
Let's talk about what needs to happen here to get us out of this situation. President says, frankly, there's really not much I can do. We got a task force we're putting together now, see if there's fraud in the oil markets, etc. If you had the president's ear, what would you tell him, Harris?
Well, you know, in 2008, Dr. Ferry from FIT and I put together an energy plan, and no one really paid any attention to it, and I suspect no one ever will. I mean, who is Rosen to be putting forth an energy plan?
Well, I've got a final minute of this interview, and I am all ears, sir. Okay. What needs to happen?
It's rather different, but here's what I would do. I would offer $1 billion or $2 or $3 billion tax-free to the first company or individual who created an automobile internal combustion engine that got us a minimum of 55 miles per gallon at the same cost as the internal combustion engines today. And then I would do a swap. Like we did for the clunkers, and so that within the next 10 years, we would have an average mile per gallon of 55. That alone, Bud, would save us 7 million barrels a day, which is half of what we use and what we import. So we would now be technically free of having to import any
and we'd
oil.
Be off the hook for the unstable sources of oil in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, and other places.
That's exactly correct.
This lack of an energy policy in the Obama administration just absolutely gets me incensed, and I can only imagine it's worse for you.
Well, for him to suggest that there's nothing he can do is really the height of hypocrisy. He's the president of the United States. There's a lot he can do, but this is a guy who's now spending most of his time running for re-election, as opposed to coming up with new ideas how he might be able to help the situation, which is, I think, rather sad.
Appreciate all the leadership you show in the tourist industry and in so many causes in this community, Harris Rosen, and we wish you and everybody else in the tourist sector of our economy, which is the most important to all of us in Central Florida, all the very best, and we hope the worst-case scenario does not come true.
Well,
I've got to go, Harris. I'm out of time, but thank you so much, my friend.
My pleasure.
You are welcome anytime. So let me ask you this. Is the price of gas already changing your travel plans, your vacation plans, or the vacation plans of folks you know and love that you thought were coming down here and they are not? 407-916-5400. Let's talk about it. 712 on BHL.
From the David Moss Volkswagen Lee Road Traffic Center, still in pretty good shape along I-4 so far this morning, just slowly starting to build up some traffic in the westbound direction near 436, although continues to move up to speed through this area. The 408 is in good shape as well, and we're problem-free along 528 and the Turnpike. There are reports of very slow traffic westbound along Colonial Drive between Avalon Park Boulevard into the 408. Construction has the right lane closed, causing 4 delays through this area. From the Traffic Center, I'm Courtney Bright.
From 540 WFLA, Orlando's 24-hour weather channel, high pressure holds on and the high heat will stick around through Easter weekend. Sunshine, the temperature near 90 today, 91 tomorrow, upper 80 Sunday. Weather updated around the clock on 540 WFLA. I'm David Maddox at the Weather Channel.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Morello. Coming up in your 7:30 news, a man taken for a mental evaluation after barricading himself in a McDonald's. Florida lawmakers vote almost unanimously on cracking down on pill mills, and a jury will decide whether Florida pastor Terry Jones can protest a mosque in Michigan.
Hey, I want to talk to you about retirement. If you or your folks are close to retirement, here's what you need to do. You need to know the very best way to get income from your